When you actually become a parent or whatever, and you have children to look after, it definitely, the theory sort of like it applies, but it's you actually living that out is a lot harder than what you might think about it and practice perspective. So it's not just the fact that you've got a kid, you've got to look after your wife or interact with your wife a little bit differently, and try and support her better through that. Well, first you have to step in and actually do the work, right? It's different from how you were living before. Now you've got a kid, you've got to put that as first priority.
That's right.
I found every single time Catholicism had an amazing answer for anything that was being challenged on. And to continue to live out your faith even when the world is pushing against it. That part is harder.
It is.
But the aspect of the more I learned about my faith, the more sense it made to me and the deeper I grew in it. And so I never felt like leaving my faith, or I never felt it would be easier to leave my faith. The more I looked into it, the easier it was to stay in my faith. When we've got that objective of, okay, this is a good thing, we want to build this family business.
That's right.
Push through the things because we know that that's the end goal. It's been great. So we've grown from originally just us three to now we have like 6 or 7 full-time and then another 3 or 4 part-time, which is awesome. So there's that often, or sometimes, it actually can be good to get up on things. You don't necessarily have to keep pushing through everything.
No.
So you have to, if it's something that you've decided, this is an objective good that I want for my life, well then don't. But if it's something lesser and you're like, well, maybe it's not so important, then rather than spending all the energy on something that's not so important, maybe you're better to just let it go.
Welcome to Talk with the Courageous Heart. I'm glad you are here today. Let's take a moment to breathe, settle in, and begin today's conversation.
Kia ora whanau, welcome to a new episode of Talk with the Courageous Heart. As I promised you last time, I do have another courageous heart. Before I get this person invite this person, I would like to do a small introduction. Well, I crossed our paths with this person about 5 years ago when I was in mission team, when I was doing a mission and also youth work for Christchurch Diocese. We kind of met briefly and we did not have many conversations, but like we had a conversation here and there when we met. But the reason I decided that I want to invite him is because everyone talk very highly of this person, and this person is coming from a really good Catholic family, and his dad is well known in Christchurch. So this person is the eldest of this family as well. So I thought, and he's very driven, very focused on goals. So I thought he might have a story to tell us. So I'm very excited to get to know him again after 5-6 years, to have a simple conversation. Without further ado, I would like to invite Matt Mischewski. Please come in, brother. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me.
And thank you for saying yes.
No worries.
I was like, he
see
might
how it goes.
I was like, maybe he wouldn't come, but just at least want to try. And thank you for saying yes. I do really appreciate that.
Happy to come.
Look, for the people who hasn't seen an episode of this podcast, how this works is, I ask my guests 5 questions, how courage plays a role through different seasons in their lives. And at the end of the 5 questions, I will ask him a signature question. And after that, I will give my guest an opportunity to ask me a question. It's only optional. They don't have to ask me a question if they don't have a question. So before we dive into questions, can I ask you, for the people who's watching this at the moment, who are you?
So my name is Matt. I'm married to Teresa and we've got 2 kids together. So our oldest is Michael, who's 1.5. And then just 2 weeks ago we had Jonathan. You're busy life at the moment, but...
And yet I'm very thankful you came here. I hope you would have a good time. So thank you for the explanation. We'll dive into our first question, shall we?
Sounds good.
Well, when you become a father, what changed in your understanding of courage? Not in theory, but in how you now show up every day.
It's a good question. So you sort of have this idea that when you become a father, it's going to be, you're going to have less time, more things that you have to do, right? The theory going in or whatever, probably going to be like, and what require from you. kind of feel, oh yeah, I'll be able to handle that. I can see myself doing this and doing a good job.
Yeah.
When you actually become a parent or whatever, and you have children to look after, it definitely, the theory sort of like it applies, but it's you actually living that out is a lot harder than what you might think about it in practice. And so I found for myself, there were definitely times, like obviously you get a lot less sleep and trying to figure everything out. You don't have as much time for doing the things that you want to do yourself.
That's right.
And then the other aspect is your wife is a lot more tired, and she, more than you, has to, like, she's up in the night all the time, feeding and everything. So you have to be aware of sort of her needs and what's going on with her, because that's
important.
That's another aspect of it. So it's not just the fact that you've got a kid, and I've got to look after your wife or interact with your wife a little bit differently, and try and support her better through that. And so I didn't, it sort of makes you realize more about yourself. Like going in, I thought I'll be all good. And then I realized, actually I'm more selfish than I thought I was, you know, like it's not just so easy to do the things I want to do anymore. I might still be able to do them, but I have to, you know, it has to be worked around everything else that's more important.
That is right.
And so I guess courage specifically showed up in the fact that, well, first you have to step in and actually do the work, right? It's different from how you were living before. Now you've got a kid, you've got to put that as first priority.
That's right.
Your wife and your kid is the first priority. And then also facing within yourself, knowing, I'm not exactly who I thought I might be before we had a child. And so sort of taking on, you know, okay, well, I'm not quite actually at the standard where I want to be, where I thought I would be. And so having the courage to step forward and keep reaching for that standard.
Can I stop you there and ask you, can you give me an example for that? Even a smallest example.
So for example, I before the baby came, there was, I wanted to work on the business or do my sport or whatever it was. I could pretty much do, like, I'd have my work time during the day, and then in the evenings I'd be free. I'd go and do the sport or go and work on the business or whatever it would be. But then, you know, with the baby comes, schedules get flipped, and you can't do that. Or even in the evenings, I might just want to have some chill time or whatever, and you can't do that. And so it would. So like I mentioned, you can still do the things you want to do, but you have to schedule it around because priorities.
The baby is the priority.
And so for me, I started getting up at 5 a.m. And that was like, okay, every day I'm going to get up at 5 during the week. And that's going to be the time from 5 to 7 where I can work on the business specifically. Like, so rather than just, okay, I sort of fit this in any time, working on the business, my day job. And then, you know, in the afternoon, I'm trying to set aside specifically time from like 4 p.m. onwards. That's time where I don't have distractions. I can specifically focus on family and everything. So trying to work the day around them and having them as the priority each day.
Wow, that's really big of you, like waking up 5 o'clock and focus on side business, like your business.
It's been amazing.
Really?
I would highly recommend. You got to make sure you get to bed like 9:30.
But your day is still
it's
very
so
productive.
Much more productive and just way more energy throughout the day.
And do you still play basketball? Like, is it every day or like weekly?
2 to 3 trainings usually in the mornings as well. Like from 6:30 to 7:30, and then I'll start work. So 2 to 3 trainings a week in the mornings usually, and then I might do a bit of lifting or sprint workouts and everything early in the afternoon, just before 4 or whatever.
Oh wow! Okay.
And then sometimes we'll take my eldest, who's 1.5, like down to the court for a bit, or do some sprints while he's running along beside me, or like just
So do you
trying to fit that in?
So do you have 2 boys or 1 boy and 1 girl?
Two boys.
Wow. Well, before when we did the preparation for this interview, you mentioned as a teenager, your faith was challenged. What gave you the courage to keep choosing it when walking away would have been much easier?
Now, when I was, sort of 13, 14, so I was raised Catholic, really good Catholic family, and so always had that Christian faith. But when I was 13 or 14, started getting it challenged by Protestant Christians on specific elements of Catholicism, and then a little bit later on by agnostics on sort of the big questions of does God even exist or whatever. And so so it was up until that point it had never really been challenged before. Like, I was Catholic and I went to church, and because my family did, and I believed. I hadn't thought through the reasons as to why I believed it. And so when I started getting those challenges, it was interesting. My default position was, well, I'm going to assume the Catholic, the Christian position is true, and because I'm going to assume it's true, but I'm going to find out reasons as why, and let's see if it actually do the reasons hold up or whatever. And so, it was interesting having been challenged early on there, and I was real lucky because a lot of the time I wouldn't know the answer to the questions that I'd be asked. I'd but I sort of had the default response of, well, I actually don't know the answer, but I'll find out and I'll get back to you.
Yeah.
And that was super useful for me, because then I would go away, I'd talk to Dad, I'd do some research on the internet or whatever, and I found every single time Catholicism had an amazing answer for anything that was being challenged on.
Yeah.
And so I found that my faith, that was like the most formative time for my faith. It really grew stronger and was strengthened there through those interactions.
Yeah.
When you mentioned in the question, like, when it would have been easier to walk away, right? Just say no. So for me, it was a bit different, because the culture that we live in, it's pretty antagonistic to Christianity. There's a lot of things that the culture doesn't like about Christianity.
That's right.
And so that aspect can be hard, to continue to live out your faith even when the world is pushing against it. That part is harder.
It is.
But the aspect of, the more I learned about my faith, the more sense it made to me and the deeper I grew in it. And so I never felt like leaving my faith, or I never felt it would be easier to leave my faith. The more I looked into it, the easier it was to stay in my faith. But I still had that culture in the world pushing against it.
Yeah.
And so in that sense, it's easier to sort of shy away from and not want to be forthcoming about it. But I found that the deeper the knowledge of my faith, the deeper appreciation and understanding I had, the easier it was to be able to push back a bit against that and resist that.
Yeah, and interesting you said that, because when I met you about 5 years ago, I always thought you as like, oh, this guy has a really good knowledge about Catholicism. And I think it comes from where, like, when you've been challenged and then you decide to, okay, I need to find out why this is the way it is, and why this might be wrong, this might be right. So, okay, now looking back, now it makes sense why I thought you were a very knowledgeable guy.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think that's key as well, because you're not going to stay in something that you don't have reasons for. And so I think the biggest thing for like raising kids or whatever is like, give them the reasons behind why you do what you do.
That's right.
Otherwise, that's why you see so many children leave the faith of their parents, I think, because they never received adequate reasons as to why they believe what they believe.
That's very interesting point, because I never thought, okay, maybe, because I grew up same as you, a Catholic family, like it came automatically, like passed down from my mom, and we went to church and those kind of things. I never thought, whenever I have kid, I thought probably he will grow up in church, and now you're saying that. I think it's very important to tell them why the religion matters. Yeah. And why you believe in God. Yeah. And I think it gives me a really good perspective, or a very good idea for me to reflect on, like whenever I have family. Okay.
Yeah. Just on that as well, as a parent, initially you're always the first person that your children will come to.
That is right. Yes. And
if the children come to you a few times and ask questions, and you're like, oh, I don't know, then they're not going to keep coming back to you and asking, right? They're going to go to the internet or find whoever else, someone who might give them very wrong ideas.
Exactly.
And so I think it's important to be able to give your kids the answers when they come. Or if you don't know the answers, then be like, hey, that's a great question. Let's find out together. I'll find out, and I'll help you, figure out what the correct answer is. Yeah. Rather than just being, oh, I don't know, or you should find that out.
You should find out. Yeah. Oh wow, thank you for saying, telling me that idea too. Like, so I can think about for my future family. Like that's something I never thought about, that I might able to tell them why our faith is very important.
Yeah. And even not just in faith, right? In all sorts of areas.
That's right. Thank you for sharing that. We'll move on to third question. So you mentioned that you work on your business as well, as much as your day-to-day job. Yep. Building a business while holding a full-time job carries a real risk. Where has courage shown up most when you have had to make uncertain decisions?
Yeah, I think probably, so me and my brothers 2.5 years ago started up a gardening and maintenance landscaping company called Fresh Start Gardens and Maintenance. And I think there was a big aspect of courage in taking that first step, taking on a bit of, especially I think for my two brothers who were willing to one of them was just coming out of high school, sure what he was going to do. The other wasn't so happy with what he was doing and was willing to take a risk and trying something else. Yeah. And so, we sort of all jumped into it and we're like, well, let's see if we can build this. I think there was courage in taking that first step there.
Exactly.
And we were lucky enough to have small amounts of success early on, so it helped the ball rolling or whatever, keep the motivation going to push through. It's amazing how much we learned pretty quickly just through making mistakes.
That's right.
Because people don't realize when starting a business how much work you need to put in order to actually figure out where you're even messing up in the first place.
That's right.
And so at that time, I was working, full time on my software job.
Yeah.
And then working both sides of that on the gardening business, trying to get it off the ground.
Yeah.
And so often I was working 5:30 in the morning to 10:30 at night a lot of the time, with a few small breaks in between, but essentially just like working the full day, which was pretty difficult. And that was before we had our first child.
Wow.
And so I had the ability to be able to focus and really try and smash out as much work as I can to get that going.
And looking back now, are you happy where the business is right now?
Yeah, I think if you see the trajectory, it's really good. There's still obviously way more that we can improve on.
Yeah,
but
sure. It takes time, man. It takes time to improve.
It takes so much time. And you would know from starting this podcast, the things that you learn along the way through the mistakes that you make. Yeah. And then especially early on when we were often we weren't really getting paid much. We were sometimes losing money or everything and trying to make everything work. Yeah. I think a lot of courage having to push through those hard moments would have been easy to just be like, well, this is hard, let's leave it. And then in business, you're always going to have things go wrong or things that mess up. And so, even now, 2.5 years on, there's still times where we're like, man, this is a pretty tough situation.
Yeah, and it's pretty important that we're pushing through,
when we've got that objective of, okay, this is a good thing, we want to build this family business.
That's right.
Push through the things because we know that that's the end goal.
Yeah.
It's been great. So we've grown from originally just us three to now we have 6 or 7 full-time and then another 3 or 4 part-time, which is awesome.
Wow.
So the goal is to just keep growing that.
It's off to you guys for taking that risk. Because I know starting business is a risky subject, but it's worth it if you can keep doing it over and over, even if you make mistakes. One thing I would ask you though, what would you tell somebody that hoping they want to start a business from the scratch? Did you have any experience in gardening and those kind of things?
So my brother had.
Okay.
So my experience in that, one of the reasons I worked full-time for another company, and then I had some experience doing some sort of marketing, some sort of business. I tried to start other little side businesses and things before, none of which had that much success. So we sort of tied them together.
But what would you tell somebody that someone wanted to start a business, but they're still in early stages? What would you tell them?
Yeah, I guess it would depend on what stage they are at. If they're at the stage where they have the idea, they know what they want to do, they're just trying to get it. I think as long as they've validated it somewhat as being this is a legitimate business idea, then just pushing through and really putting in so much work to be able to get there and expect that it's going to be way more than you think.
That's right.
And if you want to start a business but you don't have the idea yet, then I guess it would be try and find something that you can see other people are doing and have made money in, you enjoy and are interested in, and there's potential for
the
earning there.
Market, Wow, okay. Thank you for sharing that. I do really appreciate that. In saying that, we will move on to the 4th question. And growing up as the eldest in your family, how did that shape your sense of responsibility and the kind of courage you had to develop early on?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Because growing up as the eldest, it was just like, oh, I'm the eldest. I didn't really think much beyond that. It was like I'm the eldest. I didn't feel like an extra sense of pressure on me because I'm the eldest to be a good example or look after everyone or I never felt that pressure from my parents or anyone.
That's good though.
I naturally am the eldest, and as naturally being the eldest, I was just like, okay, well, I'm going to try and be a good example.
For sure.
And our family was so great in that we all had a really good relationship with each other, and we all loved each other. I have great relationships with all my siblings, and I had, especially as going through my teenage years, that was where my worldview was really shaped into, okay, this is who I want to be, this is what I want to, how I want to live, and then sort of just trying to channel that down through the younger siblings as well to show I would like you to come along on the same path as well. And I've been there have been a lot of times where my younger siblings have come to me now and been asked for advice on certain aspects of their life or what would you do in this situation, Matt, which I guess means I must have done an all right job at being the older brother if they're willing to come to me for that, which is a blessing.
And the trust you, did you have were you did you have to make example as eldest?
I tried to. I definitely tried to, but like I didn't feel like a pressure on that I have to. Yeah. I'm the oldest. I'll set a good example. That was sort of what I.
Because I'm assuming your dad set the example for all of your siblings.
Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't thought of that because I would look at Dad and I'd be like, oh, I want to be like him.
Yeah.
And so maybe that was part of it as well. I guess I hope my siblings will look at me and think that they want to sort of be like me as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Like all the other questions, like they definitely relate to courage to do all these things. But for this one, for me, it wasn't. It wasn't so much a courageous moment.
Yeah. There was no pressure from your parents.
Yeah, and our family was just so close and together.
And have 8 siblings, right?
8 younger siblings.
Wow. That's crazy. Like, how is it like to grow up in a big family?
I loved it. It was really cool.
And do you think that's something you would like in the future?
I think so. We'll just take it one at a time. That's how it all goes. But at the moment, I think that would be really cool. Yeah, I enjoyed just the friendship among the siblings was really good. For example, when I go home now, or multiple siblings all come home together, it's amazing. It's such a good day.
And I'm assuming for Christmas you guys all go together and Wow.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned earlier, your dad is well known in Christchurch. How's your mom been like when you're kids?
She's awesome. Yeah, that's a good question. Mum's real cool, and she really loves the family. She loves kids. Awesome now, grandkids and everything. And she's got a real love just for what is good and true and beautiful. A real strong faith, and she was able to instill in us a real sort of good sense of what is right and wrong, and which for her is often very black and white. And so super blessed to have her.
And growing up, did you see your mom and dad kind of work as a team to raise your family?
Definitely.
Thank you for sharing that. Thought of you asking this question because often as an older sibling, you have to be a role model to your siblings. And I felt that probably because coming from Asian countries, we always have that responsibility. You have to show your younger siblings how the life works and those kind of things. So that's why I thought it would be a really nice question to ask you, because having big family must have been not easy, the elders. And that's why I asked you that question. By saying that, we'll move on to the last question. Is that okay?
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
If your kids were to watch this conversation years from now, what's one value you would hope they understand about courage it took to live the life you chose?
Yeah, no, that's a good deep question.
Yeah.
I think I would, if they were listening to this conversation, I think I'd like them to take sort of the courage that it takes to live your faith integrated within your family.
That's right.
So those two things are sort of cliche, faith and family, but for me have been the two biggest things. So the knowledge that has been the absolute sort of foundation of my whole life. Well, does God exist? Yes, He does. He truly died on the cross and then rise again from the dead for our sins. Because if He rose again, well, then that means Christianity is true. And for me, those answers have always been yes, especially when I looked into them more. Definitely yes.
Definitely yes.
That's been the foundation that shaped everything in my life.
Yeah.
And even though the culture is often pretty against Christianity and it can be tough to live out the Christian life, there's a lot of aspects of Christianity that are hard to live out. But we're called to. But it's not always easy.
It's not easy. No.
But having that foundation of faith and then set within a family that loves each other. So that helps give you that courage to be able to live it out. Because you know you've got them backing you up.
That's right.
So what I'd like to hear my kids to sort of take would be, okay, now the courage to step out and live your faith even in a culture that doesn't like it. Hopefully they also feel that the family that they live in is like the family that I grew up in. I'd like them to have that same sense of security and love.
That's the goal. You just want to give the love to your kids what you felt from your mom and dad. And that's very sweet and very important thing for I feel like. I mean, I obviously don't have an experience like you have family. I'm not even married or anything, and it's so good to hear from you that those things that you mentioned today. Look, again, I just want to say thank you for being here, and I know you're a very busy guy. Thank you for saying yes, and I really had a good conversation with you, and I really hope you enjoyed that.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
No, it's my pleasure to have you, and look, thank you for coming and helping me out. I do really appreciate that. But before I go to my signature question, which I ask all of my guests, so this is a part where I'll let my guests ask me a question if they only have one. So let me ask you, do you have a question for me?
Yeah, no, I've got a question for you. Yeah.
Okay.
If you could interview anyone on this podcast at all, like anyone in the world, specifically, obviously your podcast is shaped around courage and everything, who's someone that maybe you've looked up to in your life, or you see a role model for yourself, or an inspiration that you would like to have on this podcast? If you could have anyone in the world, who would it be?
World?
Yeah.
Wow. I would actually go with Pope Leo.
Yeah.
And I would like, because I know he's done many missions around the world, and I feel like he would have many stories of where courage play a big role. So I would love to have him on my podcast. I mean, we can dream big, and hopefully I can have one day. Hopefully, but he would be my number one. Today, I think for next episode, I'm interviewing my first priest. Which is that's going to be a milestone. So that's pretty big for me as well. So we will take baby steps, and I'll just keep climbing step by step. And thank you for such an awesome question. And I hope I gave you a good answer. But before we leave, I want to ask you a signature question that I ask all of my guests, which is, what's one sentence you would say to someone who feels like giving up right now?
So if it was to be one sentence, would be, rather than continually, if there's an objective good that you want to pursue, rather than bashing your head against the wall in the same way, maybe take a step back, look at the problem from a different angle, and try to approach it from a different point of view.
That's right.
That's if it's something that you really want to do. Although, what I would say, this is more than one sentence.
That's okay.
What I would say is that often, or sometimes, it actually can be good to give up on things. You don't necessarily have to keep pushing through everything.
No.
So you have to, if it's something that you've decided, this is an objective good that I want for my life, well then don't give up. But if it's something lesser and you're like, well, maybe it's not so important, then rather than spending all the energy on something that's not so important, maybe you're better to just let it go and focus on something else.
Because sometimes we got to know when to give up, right? And I guess here is more, we're focusing on if someone were to give up on life or something like that. So I think it's
no, you take a step back, talk to some trusted friends,
who
might be able to give a different perspective and try and approach it from a different angle.
Probably have a good what do you call it? Good friends and get some advices. And again, thank you for the great input you shared today, and I really enjoyed the conversation. And
likewise,
brother, it's been after 5-6 years. I would never thought that I would have a conversation with you this early. But I'm very I'm very grateful you said yes, and you took the leap of faith and being here. I hope you had a good time.
No, it's been great. It's been really good.
Thank you. Before we leave, I would like to thank for the owners of this beautiful cafe for letting them borrow this space for my podcast. If you're in Christchurch or in the city, just please come visit Petai Street Cafe and dine. They have good food, good coffee. It's a beautiful space out here. So if you're in Christchurch or in the city, it's just right next to the new stadium in Christchurch. Petai Street Cafe and dine. Give these guys a try. In saying that, thank you for tuning in today. I hope we were able to inspire a few people through my conversation with Matt. I would like to leave you with a hope and promise that I would be back with another Courageous Heart next time. Until then, be safe, be courageous. God bless you. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
This podcast is still growing, so every follow and share truly means a lot. Thank you for listening to Talk with a Courageous Heart.